Yes, I am. Yes, I am. And you won't threaten the MP ever again, will you?
Oh, is it Mike? Is it Mike?
Yes.
He's the local MP, Jono.
Oh, yeah.
Get him on camera. Get him on camera, Jono. He's the local MP.
So this story, right, I actually tried to have a go at talking about it yesterday, but I ended up getting a bit annoyed and shouting because I did start doing some examples and ended up talking about Royal Mail, basically. I don't know, I ended up talking about Royal Mail and getting taken over by foreign entities. But I just wanted to talk about basically political rights. So, MPs actually do have privileges of Parliament, even if they commit an offence, although it is a breach of privilege, but it's meant to be for the actual House to decide. So if he's in session, and if he did assault someone, then he really is meant to be only prosecuted in between sessions, right? But he also might, it is maybe possible he might evade getting punished if Parliament decide not to waive the privilege, right? So I suppose it's up to them. They're the judges, really, not the courts. I'll have to check up on it, but this is what it's looking like through the other petitions, although they've got to stand for the crimes. But the interesting thing here is that the history of this MP here is that the history behind the incident is that this guy apparently, it sounded like he'd been looking through the windows at the MP office because he maybe had a fallout with him, and he wasn't getting any surgery with him or anything like that. It's quite a ridiculous idea, though, the thought of a surgery. You go see an MP for surgery, but you end up, needing a doctor's surgery. An MP surgery is meant to cure or fix a problem, but you might end up getting knocked out by this guy. And I mean, put it this way, if a doctor treated you like this in a doctor's surgery, he won't be getting any more patients. You know what I mean? Or he might have that many patients lined up that they might want to end up. He might have to stop in to see them. But I can understand. If he's looking through the windows and so forth. But the thing is, right, all those other channels now are doing that auditing. They're all doing this kind of thing that you call auditing. If you watch that Auditing London channel and various other auditing channels, they're all... It's actually a legitimate thing that you can do on behalf of the public to check the facilities and everything. The public, but it's because it's all public owned, right? I think that's the basis of it. It's not private. It's meant to be the people's, like the People's Police Station and so forth. But the thing with the MP... I know that it's meant to be confidential, if you go see your MP for politics, but petitions aren't actually confidential. The whole point is to share them, right? And what I was thinking is that, on the right, we're meant to have indemnity or privileges of Parliament when we go to see an MP, right? Not the courts. So maybe it isn't actually a matter for the police, it's a matter for the Sergeant at Arms at the Parliament. But what I was thinking is this: what happens if you have reason to believe that your MP is lying and your MP is not really... what we're saying is that it's very difficult to get a appointment or surgery with an MP. They seem to be prioritising. They lied for a while and said that they're not going to see anyone who's not from that area or electorate, but you might have an issue that's to do with another area, political. And like Jeremy Corbyn, even, for example, puts a message out saying that he prioritises his own people, which means that he's unlikely to ever reply to you because you're never going to get through that threshold of prioritisation of that he's got a constant flow of his local people. So you're likely never going to get a reply. Now, whether or not this gentleman had a disagreement with this MP or not, and he did actually get a surgery, but they fell out or he didn't agree with him, and he continued to attempt to approach him in public to speak about it and so forth, he ended up getting this done for harassment, basically, and stalking, right? Which I have basically just talked to, not even really I wouldn't have said that it was anything out of the ordinary, but I've spoken to local councillors and just questioned them on things. Challenge them on things. You know, just challenge them on their views and opinions, right? Which is what you're meant to do in healthy politics. And a lot of time, well, like twice basically, they just blocked us on Messenger. And what I complained to the local council monitoring officer, and I said to her, look, I said, if you want to be a councillor or an MP, the whole point of the job is to be accessible by the public. It's called responsibility. And the word responsibility is broken down into two words, which is response and ability. You've got to have the ability to respond. It's almost like kind of like getting blocked or banned from the public toilets. They close a lot of the public toilets anyway, but this is just an example. I'm not like trying to suggest that you go in there and take the pee out of them, but what I'm saying is it's meant to be for everyone. It's meant to be for the entire public. And if you haven't actually vandalised it or damaged it or anything, and even if someone does vandalise the public toilets, I think that you've still got a right to use it because you're a taxpayer. I mean, if you get fined for damages or anything like that, fair enough. But I don't think they can actually block you from using it unless they get a court order or restriction. But even then, you could question it. I don't think councillors are meant to be available, you know, and maybe that's why they get these tough characters or characters where they end up just because of the nature of being toughened up. They kind of end up blocking people off, but they're not meant to. I don't think they can block their main email inbox at the council, but social media should really be under the same policy as their normal email if they're using it and claiming that they are, I'm councillor so-and-so, and, you know, this is my Facebook for that purpose. And this is the whole argument with Rachel Reeves, you know. So this MP, on the basis of that auditing, what I was thinking is this, right? What happens if, you know, I don't think MPs really are available to people for as much time as they should be available to them. And the thing is that what happens if you wanted to investigate the MP, you know? Surely you could do it by petition because you've got the right to petition Parliament over anything. You know, what happens if you wanted to, you know, and I'm not saying that this guy was or wasn't stalking him, but I'm not standing up for this guy if he's really done something wrong. But what I'm saying is, have you got a right to gather evidence on your MP and look through his window to see if he really is seeing this amount of people, or if he is having 10 minutes with some people, or if he's having longer than 10 minutes, in order to form a report to send to Parliament? Because the normal police cannot investigate MPs, right? Because it's not in their jurisdiction, not on matters of Parliament. And I'm not too sure if it's during session of Parliament they can even do it. So, and this is the thing, unless they're lying and fraud, because lying and fraud apparently is a breach of privilege, but I think it's meant to be for Parliament to decide that. And that was the thing with the Lord Hanningfield case. If Parliament have decided to suspend the rules, or if they've said, yeah, that he has breached the privilege, then that's why he was in the magistrate. He was in the court, or else he wouldn't have been in there, which is kind of ridiculous. But there's a lot of things around it. But I'm actually thinking that if you actually petition in Parliament, you're doing that under the authority of Parliament, not under normal local policing laws, because when police officers are working, they don't do it under the normal jurisdiction. But what I have found in the archives, what I've found in the archives, right, and what I've found in the law, in the old laws, is that we petition Parliament, but also actually magistrates or The police can do petitions to Parliament as well and raise matters to that jurisdiction, but when they're doing it, they're not doing it under their own. They're not doing it under like the local magistrates and jury. They're actually, gathering evidence but sending it into the Parliament. So it does look like they could do that. Although we've got rules now where police aren't allowed to intervene in elections, but they can have an election. They can have an election petition, it's like a different investigation under a different set of rules and procedures because you've got prosecutors for it and so forth. But normally police are told not to get involved in political matters. But usually the police officer, I don't know whether he can do it in his own capacity as a citizen or whether the sheriff can. I'm not sure. That's something worth looking into. But there's nothing stopping us from doing it because, you can complain. You can gather evidence to the health, the Parliamentary and Health Service Ombudsman, which is actually an authority. So you effectively could. I'm not sticking up for that guy who got done for harassment and stalking, by the way. All I'm just saying is that what I'm saying is if you had a dispute with your MP and if you actually genuinely wanted to get evidence on them and investigate them, it's usually the MP who signs it off. It's usually the MP who signs it to the Health Service Ombudsman, which is ironic in this instance here, but I think you might be able to, if you submitted a petition, but the petition committee are going on saying that, we don't accept petitions of wrongdoing and so forth like that, but Parliament have got departments for wrongdoing and avenues for wrongdoing, even if they don't accept it in the main petitions committee, which is the whole point of the local council monitoring officer and the whole point of having a health service and parliamentary ombudsman, which you can submit evidence to them, okay? There were lots of cases and disputes against people, but it was usually their own cases that got raised up and disputed to Parliament. I don't know whether it could or would be the MP if it started in the lower courts, but it's not going to, is it? You can definitely petition about criminal matters, though, because they've got those John Pym petitions and those wives of John Bestwick and Henry Burton. And I've actually I saw the reference to the record to that the other day, that all those cases will be documented in the Parliament sessions books for that year, which is why they're actually important case study for history. They're well popular studied cases. You can actually petition about, but you're not actually. Actually, come to think of it now, there's quite a lot of people who are accusing those lords and peers of crimes or offences and also civil disputes. So you must be able to accuse your MP of wrongdoing because people were accusing lords of it, and you can't do it in the lower courts because apparently of the privilege. So it would be to Parliament. Or you would be asking, sorry, you do it in between sessions, don't you? Sorry, you can do it in between sessions. So if Parliament don't accept claims against MPs or complaints against MPs by petition, but what if it's during sessions? Because it says Parliament can be its own judge. But you can have prosecuted in between sessions. But if it's not in between sessions, then you can't, right? But they did change the rules a few times. But what I'm thinking is, if Parliament's its own judge, then surely you submit the complaint to them while it's during sessions. But it needs some more looking into. Because I've only really got the petitions for the Lords, not for the House of Commons. In fact, they all got burned, remember, or they're claiming they did. I'm starting to wonder if they really did get burned because there's so many records that, the clerks of Parliament have got these certain records still, and the Clerk of the Commons, and then there's all these different records they've still got. But then the same Parliament burned down, and we don't have the other records, which I can't, how is it just? It seems really ridiculous that it's the petitions committee records that we don't have. If everything got burned, how have we got anything from Parliament? How have they got anything from before that period? You know, it seems strange and odd to me. But anyway, the petitions that did get read out and the petitions that we do have records of are the ones that did get read out and they ended up in the sessions books. So that's at least the ones that are on record. But what I'm starting to think now is there might be a difference between petitions that got read out, like, you know, for a law being changed or an action, and ones to do with privileges. It's to do with the bar of Parliament, And I'm starting to think that there might be the clerks of the Parliament might have the records of things that were put to the bar of Parliament. And I'm starting to think that possibly it's not the petitions committee or the sessions books, unless the sessions book have everything that was put to the bar of Parliament as well in those sessions in years. I'm not sure if the records of the bar of Parliament are in the sessions book or if they're like a separate record of the clerks, because I know that the clerks of the Parliament have got certain records that pertain to the Sergeant at Arms and sending the Sergeant at Arms to do certain things. But this is the thing that Goldsmith guy and the current clerk of the Parliament and will know about, but they don't respond to you. These guys don't respond to you and you contact them either. So that's just something to think about. So yeah, I mean, ironically, you could investigate an MP through the Parliamentary and Health Service Ombudsman, but ironically, it's going to be that MP who signs it off. Although maybe you could get the Speaker of Parliament to sign it off instead if he didn't, which you could, you know, you could write to the Speaker of Parliament and say, my MP is, you know, done something wrong and, you know, I want to investigate him and I want to get evidence to send it to the Parliamentary and Health Service Ombudsman. And then that's when you could get a certificate from the Speaker, like for what we're asking for now with the ULEZ, you know, adverts to say that you covered by parliamentary privilege indemnities for advertising petitions and sharing petitions and promoting petitions because you're instructed to by Parliament. So you could actually, I'm starting to think, I mean, you could even probably maybe even apply to the Parliamentary and Health Service Ombudsman. You say, you know, my MP won't sign this off because I've got a dispute with him, you know. So I think if this guy, you know, actually legitimately was stalking him or, you know, giving him hassle or whatever, if he actually truly had some kind of grievance with him and what was the reason he's looking through the window because he wanted to find out information about him legitimately like these auditors are doing or claiming they're doing, theoretically, he could have gone about it a different way and got a certificate and actually done an official investigation into him if he'd have done it the right way.